Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Tour de Greaves Cycling Show in association with SportsAid and the Dave Rayner Fund, the Rayner Foundation, of course. I'm delighted to say this week we've got another national champion with us. We've got two-time Aussie time trial champion enjoying her first, I say enjoying, we'll get onto that in a minute, but enjoying her first full season in Europe. Sarah Gigante, thank you so much for joining us, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Now I alluded to there the enjoyment might be limited because you are nursing a number of injuries. I mean, you've broken collarbone at Flesh Willow, but you've got a series of injuries, and you're just getting back on the turbo for a bit. How are the injuries?
Yeah, so the reason I have my kit on, I'm very, very excited because after this interview will be the first time I'm jumping on the bike. I say jumping, but more like gingerly stepping onto the indoor trainer because I broke my collarbone. I got surgery on that, but I also have a broken elbow and a broken fibula in my leg. Leg is the annoying one because you need your legs to pedal. So I'm gonna test it out soon. Hopefully I can do it without much pain, but it will be still easy for a while yet, which is a bit frustrating, and I will miss some races, so it's a bit disappointing, but I'll be back, and I did really enjoy the races that I did, apart from the end of Flesh, because I kept racing after I broke them another 20 minutes, and it was very painful.
I think people look at cyclists in this kind of superhuman way, and that kind of proves it, doesn't it? I mean, I kind of, I'm quite happy to pull over for a cafe stop, the least bit of a twinge or a bit of tiredness in the legs, but you carried on for 20 minutes after a pretty bad spill and all these broken bones. You mentioned you enjoyed the racing. I mean, what's it been like kind of starting this first full season in Europe, some big races in there, a massive amount of talent in the women's peloton. How have you found the first couple of months of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different to racing in Australia, and I knew it would be like that. I have done some European racing before, but like you said, it's my first full season over here, and it's been hard racing, and it's been kind of mainly a battle for positioning with me, so I'm still learning my way, and that's what I struggle with most. Not just the pace being different. It's more like being in the right spot at the right time is something I need to learn, and like when to use my energy, when to save it, stuff like that. So I think that's just things that will come with time, and the more races I do, the better, really. So I was really enjoying just race, and learning lots. Now I'll have quite a bit of time away from racing, but hopefully I can come back strong for the later half of the season.
Yeah. Do you find yourself constantly watching moves go? Are you somebody who kind of likes to play on instinct, and you're getting in a move, and then if it turns out to be the wrong move, that's a lesson learned? Or are you a rider who kind of likes to watch and learn that way in terms of where certain riders make their moves, and you mentioned kind of where to expend energy and things?
If I can get in a move, then I like being in the move. Even if it gets brought back, I just love being in the breakaway. It's so much fun. And like getting to the end of the race and being like, oh man, like I'm super tired at the end, like that's annoying. I'd way rather that feeling than the feeling of, getting caught out, not being in the right place when the move goes, or not making that decision to jump when the move is going, and then getting to the end and feeling good, but you're not there. So I'd always rather err on the side of go super hard, and I'm like that in training too. So I think everyone knows they just have to tell me to chill, because I just want to go hard all the time. I'll get in every single move if I could. Yeah.
And you mentioned racing down under and racing in Australia. Obviously the European road scene is kind of very well established. I guess Australia is very much the domestic scene there. It's probably very similar to is in Britain. What do you think the biggest kind of learning curve has been from racing domestically in Australia and racing in some of the Australian races to come into Europe and racing on the cobbles and in the kind of, other than the weather? What do you think the biggest learning curve has been?
It's definitely the positioning that's the biggest difference. So actually the level of racing in Australia is super high, and it's really hard to win races there. Like, the women are super strong. It's just that when we get to Europe, we can often, not everyone, and there are lots of Aussies, but like often the hardest part is just finding your way to the front of the peloton and holding it there, just because our bunch sizes are smaller. So yeah, it's just positioning mainly, and I guess we have teams racing, but obviously being in a professional team is very different to being on a domestic team, and like, yeah, all the team tactic is super cool. But I really enjoy that. I don't struggle with that at all. I love it. I think it's more just positioning that will take me a while, but I can tell I've improved so much, and yeah, I've been having fun. So I think I'm so keen to get back racing. Right now, I just want to ride my bike, but yeah, hopefully I can race again. Soon, soonish.
You mentioned it's difficult to win races in Australia, but you had a really cracking start to the season, the Santos Festival of Cycling, winning on Wollonga Hill and knocking a very, very decent time off the Strava QOM there. And then, of course, success in the time trial and a good result in the road race, which you've won previously. Um, did it feel strange, kind of, those races, especially the Santos Festival of Cycling? It was very much, it didn't have any international feel to it. How did it feel kind of starting the season in Australia, perhaps in the traditional way you would start, but without any of the kind of European circus rolling in?
Yeah, it was a bit sad not to have my team Tibco-Silicon Valley Bank there. Like, that's the first race I did with them at all. Like, as a neo pro in 2020, they came over and I raced the Tour Down Under as my first one, and it was so exciting. But then again, I was still so excited this year because I was in Melbourne last year, and Melbourne, most of Australia has had not many restrictions this whole pandemic because they've had like zero cases, which is amazing. But Melbourne was the one place, the one city in Australia that was locked down for a long period of time. So we had like 12 weeks where we could only go 5K from our house and for like 1 hour outside. And I live right in the city, so like 5K from my house, it's pointless going outside. So
Yeah.
I just did Zwift that whole time. I think I rode outside like 6 times just to get the Strava QLMs in my 5K. So, but yeah, that was a bit challenging. I didn't get to race for 266 days. So yeah, to race the
Wow.
Tour, I was so excited. I had one race in December. So yeah, didn't race from like getting back from Europe at the start of March until December, and then the Tour Santos Festival of Cycling was like the first really big race, and I was so excited. The national team had we had an awesome squad, and just to, even if there was like no international field, just to be wearing the green and gold as part of the national team is always such a incredible feeling. And then
Yeah.
we bike exchange there, so it was like a really good squad by them. And then we also had all the domestic NRS teams. So, I mean, even though it's definitely not the same as an international UCI race, and I would have loved for that to be the case, it was still, I don't think I'd been more excited in a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to race my bicycle. Yeah.
And for those people who've not seen the best of you yet, how would you describe yourself as a rider? Are you've got boundless kind of enthusiasm for races, and you seem to be following that kind of all of the young racers coming through are racing on instinct. It's perhaps less about power meters and controlled zones. But where do you see yourself as a rider kind of developing over the next couple of
I've been really working on my time trialing and my climbing probably the most. So they're my two biggest strengths. I love mountains and I love time trials. I love uphill time trials the most, but they're pretty rare. Yeah, I just love any racing though. Like, even chuck me in a crit and I'll have a blast. I won't win probably, but I'll have a lot of fun. And yeah, I just love racing, but they're my biggest strengths. And the harder the race, the better. So, yeah, the more brutal the course, and yeah, the faster the race is, the better. I I don't have like the best fresh power, but like at the end of a super hard race, it's probably not too much different to where it would have been at the start of the race, which is handy. But I'd also I want to work on my fresh power too.
So the kind of Northern European classics, these kind of wars of attrition, where perhaps some of the Ardennes classics, where you are literally just up and down shark's teeth all day to kind of sort out the kind of final placings. I guess that's it does draw a lot of Australians, don't it? If you think about it, in both the men's and the women's pelotons, the Australians and those from the kind of Southern Hemisphere, for some reason, enjoy the kind of brutality of riding across cobbles and things. What was your first experience on the cobbles like when you first came over to Europe and raced the cobbles? I'm guessing you perhaps don't have, I don't think anywhere in the world has cobbles quite as mean and as nasty as kind of Flanders and parts of Belgium.
We don't have cobbles in Australia, so yeah. I mean, I do really love hard races, but maybe hard without the cobbles. I'll go for like hard. Yeah, I was so excited for the Ardennes, but it turned out to not be a very good week for me. So I'm still I was just in the wrong spot and didn't jump. Like I didn't even realize I was missing the move. So it was just like another case of being too far back, having good legs, but yeah, frustrating. Like a good learning experience for me. Like I need to be further forward because there's no point being strong and missing the major move. So yeah, that was just like I was a bit annoyed, but I was like, it's all right. Like 2 more to go, and they're even better. I think I was most excited for Flesh finishing on the wall, but yeah, that's the reason I kept going. Like I definitely knew something was very wrong with my collarbone in particular. Like I knew that I did not have use of one arm, but I was just so excited for that race and so desperate to show my legs because I felt like all the races I've done so far, like I've had some good races, but I just feel like like I haven't got to like use my legs properly because I keep making mistakes along the way, which is normal, and I was only young. It's just like I really wanted to do well at that race, but yeah, after 10K, I was like, nah, I can't do this, and it's pointless because I can't get out of the seat and I can't brake. I'm very dangerous. I was going through the convoy on the descent to get back to the peloton, and I was like, this is such a bad idea. And the thing was, I knew it was a terrible idea while I was doing it, but I kept doing it. Yeah. And Liège would have been fun. It was hard to watch on the couch.
Yeah.
But I could cheer my teamies on.
Yeah. And what's it like being on Tibco-Silicon Valley? I mean, it's kind of, very well established. It's been around for a long time and, on the continental calendar. How did that move come about and what's the experience like on that team?
Yeah, it's been really good. So the year I won the National Road Race Championship, 2019, I went to America with my domestic team, Roxelda Attacker, at the time. And yeah, I did some of the American scene and I saw Tibco-Silicon Valley Bank at the Tour of the Healer, and I absolutely loved that race. Like, I think it's my favorite tour ever, but I've only got to do it once, and I really wanted to go back last year, but obviously it was cancelled because of the pandemic, and then this year the dates are a bit tough to like get to America from Europe and stuff like that. So maybe next year, but yeah, I just had so much fun at Healer, and I thought that joining an American team, it's like a good stepping stone to European. So I was only 18 in 2019. So yeah, it's a big move to go just to Europe and race in Europe the whole time, coming from Australia, and it's more like Australia, America, Europe in terms of racing. Maybe Australia, America, Europe, Europe. So yeah, I thought it would be a good stepping stone. Some American racing, and get to do like the fun, kind of easier than a European racing like Tour of the Healer, but then still get to challenge myself in Europe for part of the year. But then with COVID, it turned out I haven't raced in America or even been to America with Tibco Silicon Valley Bank at all, and instead I got to jump in head first here, which now I'm a couple of years older and a lot stronger, so I'm happy with that anyway.
Yeah. And what's the rest of your, obviously post recovery, what's the rest of your season looking like? I mean, there's obviously, quite a lot towards the back end of the season. Everything's kind of stacked towards Worlds. What's your program going to look like once you've got over the various injuries?
Yeah, so I guess it depends on how long they take to heal. I think my team's doing some pretty cool races in June and July, like they did La Course last year. So, and then the Giro is always a good one. So hopefully, yeah, I guess we'll see how things turn out around then. It's only a bit under 3 months away. But after that, we have races like Ardèche. Lauren Stevens on our team won last year, so it would be cool if we could defend that title for the team. And then, yeah, there are also World Tour races like there's Norway and the Women's Tour later on. Obviously Paris-Roubaix, but I don't think I'd be doing Paris-Roubaix. Yeah, but yeah, there are like so many more races later in the year. So although this is, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, uh, um, yeah, and in a lot of pieces, but it's okay because there's so much coming.
Yeah, and if you could win any race on the women's calendar, kind of going forward, perhaps not this year, but going forward, what race do you kind of think? Yeah, you know what, that's the one. If I could only win one more race before retirement, that'd be the race.
Oh, that's so hard. I think right now, just the thought of winning any race would be, oh, like, let's start top 10. I got 11th at Dwas, so, but I went the wrong way with a kilometre to go, which I'm so bummed about. I turned off the course, turned right a straight early. There were a few of us that turned right a straight early. So I did a quick U-turn and chased back on. But yeah, anyway. So I have to start with top 10 first and then podium and then, yeah. But oh, if I had to pick like my favorite race, I mean the Olympics is only once every 4 years, and I always love watching that. And in Australia, it's like yeah, a big thing. I don't know, probably around the whole world, but it's definitely like in Australia growing up, every kid's dream is to like go to the Olympics. And then of course, yeah, World is super cool with the rainbow jersey. Like any, I'm not fussy. If you could say I could win any race at all, like I don't even care. 2.2, come at me.
Excellent, excellent. And just finally, who were your kind of cycling heroes growing up? Who did you kind of look to when you were getting on the bike and you were pursuing the dream of becoming a professional cyclist? What kind of names were you following and perhaps having posters on your wall and things like that of?
Definitely when I was pretty young. So I started racing was when I was 8, both on the track and road. And definitely growing up as a little kid, it was always Nettie Edmondson, Annette Edmondson. She does track now, but I actually got to be a teammate on the national team in January for the Festival of Cycling, which was yeah my first time like really meeting her properly. I think so. Even now, I was like, oh my gosh, total fangirl. Like you're the person I like grew up wanting to be like. So yeah, Nettie when I was growing up, and then probably in the last few years, I mean Nettie is still so awesome, but I'm not the even anywhere like being Nettie as a rider, like completely different types of riders. So in the last few years, I guess I love watching Annemiek van Vleuten race, Amanda Spratt because she's Aussie and awesome. All the Aussies really, and then Marianne Foss, she's just a legend, and then also Cecily Uttrup Ludwig. Since I watched her interview at I think the La Course 3 years ago,
Yeah.
because I love people that are so happy racing their bikes.
Do you take a lot from that? I mean, she is just a bit like your good self. You got this kind of enthusiasm for cycling. It's this ridiculously hard sport, but be able to do an interview like that, and I think I saw your interview after one of the stages on the Santos tour, to still have that enthusiasm when you've put yourself in the kind of red zone. I guess that's what cycling is all about, isn't it? I mean, you go out every day every race to kind of ultimately enjoy yourself, and if you've still got the energy at the end to kind of really give off this positive vibe. It's Celie somebody who kind of, you feel you can learn quite a lot from. She's probably, still trying to, she's probably always learning the same as you are. Is that kind of something when you see her in the peloton, you think, yeah, you know what, that's that spirit, that kind of enthusiasm, something that you always want to take with you.
Yeah, I definitely always want to keep having fun riding my bike, and I think if you're not having fun, then like why are you doing it? Like it's
Mm.
something like we get on our bike every single day. So if you're not, I obviously sometimes sometimes it's harder than others. Right now it's pouring with rain. Although again, I haven't ridden my bike in like 10 days. So I would go out in that rain for sure. But yeah, I mean, if you're not loving it, then what's the point? And I think like happiness watts is a thing anyway. So I love training and I'll go out with my friends. Like the group rides in Melbourne are amazing. So I just love, like racing to the top of hills, like going for Strava segments, sprinting for 60 signs, even though I'm a not very good sprinter, stuff like that. And yeah, I hope I always love that stuff.
Excellent stuff. Well, I wish you all the very best with the recovery. I hope today's turbo session isn't too painful. Fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll see you later in the season, and perhaps get you back on the show when you've got that first top 10 podium and that win in a 2.2 or whatever comes your way. But thank you so much, Sarah. We wish you all the very best, and hope to see you racing again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good luck with the tour.